if anyone just wants to take a shot at it.
I'll guess.
Wild, wild guess.
Maybe something to do with wind or AI.
Yes, exactly. So Waind is a three-letter, it's a three-word word. So basically, Waind stands for water, air, and land. And those are the places where we're going to explore and implement our AI technologies. Yeah. Mohammed, I'll let you speak first.
Yeah. All right. So to start off, my name is Mohammed. I'm an 15-year-old junior that currently studies at the American Community School here in Abu Dhabi. I am a innovator member of the International Federation of Inventors Associations. When it comes to extracurriculars, I really like innovation, right? I'm all about that, and I'm all about I really like thinking about stuff in general. But back to Wayne, right? You know the information age has reached a point, a turning point actually, with data constantly being produced by devices and sensors as the Internet of Things continues to grow, right? Yet, unless we interpret it, that data remains just what it is, data. In order to turn this data into actionable insights, we need the help of artificial intelligence. It's vital, and it's obviously problem solving abilities. So what can AI do? AI could find patterns, right, in associations, discover inefficiencies, execute plans, learn and become better, uh, even predict the future by future outcomes based on historical event the trends, and in addition to that, inform fact-based decisions. But to define artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think and act like humans, right? And when it comes to machine learning, to define machine learning in simple terms, machine learning in rudimentary terms is the science of getting computers to learn without being explicitly programmed. So and these two could be together in a lot of things: online shopping, advertising, web search, web searches, web search in general, the digital personal assistants. What else? Uh, Machine translations, smart homes, cities and
Crime prevention.
infrastructures. Yeah. Cars, cyber security. It's and against COVID-19. Artificial intelligence against COVID-19. Has artificial intelligence in COVID-19 is a to me a vital part of what we it's what we're currently functioning, especially here in the country of the United Arab Emirates, where almost everything is autonomous when it comes to organization, right? And so it's endless. We could use artificial intelligence and machine learning in a lot of areas. And Luai and I want to expound on that exact term. We want to envision new techniques that are both reliable and good. And at that exact time, when we started, at that exact time that we had in mind, we wanted to start with whatever is novel and current. We wanted to start with something that is currently happening. And guess what? That's COVID-19. So we thought about developing aerial and unmanned vehicles, UAVs, as well as ground-based units that act for the people, not against the people. This is a pretty, common misconception. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
in between
So,
people. Yeah.
so in the media, we've always been portrayed as this sort of big brother of AI, where we collect data and use it against the people, and that's not exactly what we do. What we do is we collect data for the common good. We collect a lot of data to prevent certain events from happening and to detect possible outcomes of any situation. Um, One of our products is an RC vehicle that goes around in public areas. It's still in beta for the software, and we are working on a prototype at the moment. And we have developed 25 lines of code using Python to track facial or to develop facial recognition softwares. And we're doing that using Python, and this being a coding a coding camp, it would be interesting to say that uh, we're Wayne doesn't particularly use Python in all its softwares, but we do use them when it comes to facial recognition because that's the essence of what we're doing. Facial recognition and just we're tracking movement and predicting what could happen from certain behaviors. If a human, if a person acts in an awkward, or in a very bizarre way in public, we could assume that this person is going to turn to maybe have a more violent attitude, and this could prevent crime, for example. We gave the example of a lost child. We're working on that, and that's going to be our next product after um, the Waind one, which is the RC vehicle, and then we're gonna come out with the Waind 2, which is tracking children in a safety context, of course. We're not here to tell on people or because a lot of people approached Mohammed and I and said, so you guys are just telling government what these kids are doing in secret or what people are doing if they're not wearing masks or but that's not exactly what we're doing. What we're doing is we're trying to put in place a healthy, safe, and secure society where people do respect laws and wear their masks and act according to whatever laws are in place. And that's exactly what my job is. I coordinate with the public and private sector to sort of find these solutions in a lawful manner. Mohammed is the brains behind this operation. He's the technical co-founder. He does most of the coding. I try to help him out here and there, and then we work really well together in just everything that has to do with from thinking about the idea to the CAD models to actually making the product work. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them on the chat. We'll reply. And yeah, that's about it. That's Waind in a few minutes. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Mohammed, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I actually had a lot to say. I did want to expand on some things I said. So what was I saying? Aerial and ground-based units, right? So we made them, or we explicitly programmed them to detect non-mass activity, and generally to work as continuous assistance to people that are dealing with COVID in their front lines in any way, shape, or form. Just help them. And so that was initially it. But when it comes to future visions that Louai and I have, it's much more than that. We really want to deal with us becoming more sort of energy efficient, right? And guess what? AI could help us be more energy efficient with our energy consumption. And in some parts of the world, this is already happening. Tech giant Google has an enormous data center that requires a massive amount of energy to run the servers and keep them cool. And to combat this effect, Google has deployed its AI platform, I think it was called DeepMind, to predict when its data centers will get too hot. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, do you want to say something, Louai?
No. I was just going to say something about the new Google movie that just came out. It's a 50-minute film that explains everything that has to do with search and how AI is so involved into search. And that's exactly what we're trying to replicate, but we're trying to make it very simple and very straightforward. Instead of having all these servers, we want to build a smaller model of that and make it more accessible to youth and not very technical, if that makes sense.
Indeed, yeah, I agree. So DeepMind. As a result of that, cooling systems are only activated when required, saving Google around, I think it was 40% at its server farms. Another thing that we don't want to get into this a lot, but another thing that we are willing to deal with is I don't want to speak for Louai, or I want to deal with is transforming how we learn, right? And speaking of that, I think you guys will be amused with this story. All right, so listen to this story. Let me get it right here. And what a better way to keep this conversation going than telling a story. So yeah, so in 2016, the Georgia Tech News Center reported that an artificial intelligence course created an AI teaching assistant, right? So very ordinary. At the end of the course, students enrolled in Georgia Tech's online Masters of Science in Computer Science program found out that their teaching assistant was in fact a virtual assistant, and her work was necessary, with roughly 300 students enrolled and posting 10,000 messages in the online forums. It was too much for the professor, right, and his 8 humans to handle. But after a few initial hiccups, the robot started answering the students' questions with approximately 97% certainty. The robot was designed by the university after the research revealed that one of the main factors behind students dropping out was a lack of support. And I think that's just amazing, for a university to have that kind of support to students. The use of this type of robot is revolutionary for universities, I think. Uh, People learn differently at different starting points and at different speeds. And thanks to AI, students could learn in a more personalized way. And since education systems can't afford a tutor to every child, artificial intelligence can be deployed in a useful way, just like this way. So back to Wayne.
Right. So
Let's yeah.
we
Go on.
got a question actually.
Oh yeah.
We got a question from Sharana Sabis. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. So she asks, well, it's a few questions in one question actually. So, how did you market your business? How were you able to find investors? Do you guys offer internships? How do you develop and build your product or service? Who are your customers? What are your future plans? So, um, we market our business through our website and through our social media. We're actually going to uh, uh, hire a creative team to help us market our startup idea first, because we're not a business yet. We have a product, we have an idea, and we're looking for investors. We have a few big tech companies that approached us, and we're currently negotiating on joining incubators and startup accelerators. And we recently spoke to Khalifa University, so we're still in talks with Khalifa University to acquire funding and perhaps join a cohort of their startups. So yeah, it's really interesting, this whole startup process. It's really different from opening just a regular business. But yeah, to answer your third question, do you guys offer internships? Lucky for you guys, we actually have we're accepting interns for summer 2021 to work on developing new technology with us, to develop graphic design solutions and think of ideas together. So it's going to be this huge focus group, you could call it, and we could just exchange ideas. And it's like an extracurricular. You will get a certificate at the end. I know a lot of students worry about getting certificates at the end, but the whole experience is about learning and being immersed in this business and tech environment. So I'll leave a link to where you can apply for the internship. It's going to be intern dot. I'll just send it to you guys right now. So if you're interested, you just have to fill out the form, and we'll get your form. We'll send you confirmation, and we'll release this. We don't really want to say release decisions, because at the end we're going to accept whoever comes. So we'll get back to you when we're launching the summer internship. The fourth question is, how did you develop and build your product or service? I'll let Mohammed answer that, but before, who are your customers? What are your future plans? So we do not cater to individuals. We cater to businesses. So it's a B2B kind of business. As I said, government, public transport, big companies. We want to work with those people, and those are our customers. So it's not one individual person. It's an organization, because the types of devices that we use do not. Well, I find it really hard to understand why one person would want to track and track thousands of people and use that and use data. So it's really a question of the size of the company and what they do. We do choose our customers, and it really depends on their values at the same time. So, what are our future plans? Well, we're fresh startup. We just started out. We want to expand to every continent and to uh, develop all kinds of technologies and in every field. We want to do a bit of everything. Um, I know that most companies prefer to specialize in one thing, but we find it very interesting to just branch out and explore every field, whether it's public policy to um, crime prevention, hospitality, engineering. Really, we want to just have a bit of everything. Um, so, Mohammed, I'm going to let you answer how
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
develop and build your product or service?
Yeah, so when it comes to that, technology is all about conceptualization and prototyping, right? So we had to get, into the nitty-gritty of it and actually study all the components that we need. Um, and a big part of that was actually done through a couple of contacts I had with universities across the United Arab Emirates and the United States. And again, when it comes to creating technology, conceptualization is very important. We've actually, and this is when the National, it's a very popular news venue here in the United Arab Emirates that wanted to cover our story. When they covered our story, we were still in the sort of phase of prototyping, but essentially we had worked continuously on a computer aided model that featured the prototype of what we actually want to implement, and all of its components all at once, right? So it's essentially that's how pretty much technology is made. CAD model, and from there, if it's in aerospace engineering, you want to study the thermodynamics of that. If it's in the Internet of Things technology, then it's much more simple. You want to just assemble it the right way. Um, but yeah, I think let's speak about something related to what you have already envisioned, right? Um, UAVs, right? Unmanned aerial vehicles. So who here knows anything about drones or quadrotors,
I feel that everybody
as it's
here
called?
is quite silent. I don't know if they're shy or they just don't want to speak. If you have anything to say to us, any questions, uh, really anything, we'd love to hear from you.
Drones? No, no one knows anything about drones.
So,
Anything, literally,
okay,
that could be.
let's ask the question differently maybe. When you think of a drone, what do you think of? What's the first thing that comes up to your
Yeah,
mind?
yeah. All right. Okay.
I actually don't know much about them. I believe some companies may use them to deliver products or to customers.
Ah,
Yeah, that's really
okay.
interesting. That's exactly what we want to do in the future is deliver emergency first aid kits in underprivileged neighborhoods um, and where people cannot reach those neighborhoods, for example, or islands, for example. So
Pesticide. It can spray
yes, you could
pesticide.
you
Yeah.
could yeah you could take pictures with them exactly. Aerial vehicles, yes. So vehicles, well, yeah, Mohammed. What do you think of the Jitex, the Hyundai Uber drone that we saw, the
No,
huge drone?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do want to speak or something when it comes to that. So the drone that was featured there was a quadrotor, right? And I think with quadrotors. So a quadrotor is basically that drone that has four sort of motors, or four, basically four motors. Uh, that's basically that's what mostly is commercialized when it comes to things we can buy of stocks of unmanned aerial vehicles, the quadrotor, right? That was a very good question, though. I did want to speak about the quadrotor, because it's indeed a vital part of drones. So when it comes to the quadrotor, it's quite simple. It consists of four independently controlled rotors mounted on a rigid frame. The mechanical simplicity makes it very attractive. There are no flapping hinges. The blades are short and stubby, so even when the robot turns suddenly, the gyroscopic moments don't cause the blades to flap. And this makes it easier to control the vehicle, right? So in the quadrotor, you'll find. One second. I think I have this on my. Can you see this? Yeah. Yeah. So in the quadrotor, you'll find that if you look at rotors 1 and 3, so the first rotor and the third rotor, and the second rotor 2 and rotor 4, they're pitched in opposite directions. So in fact, if you look at the arrows denoting the directions of rotation, omega 1 and omega 3 are positive counterclockwise when viewed from the top, while omega 2 and omega 4 are positive counterclockwise when viewed from the bottom. If you vary the speeds of these independent motors, the rotors, you'll be able to control the position and orientation of the robot. But generally speaking, in order to enable autonomous flight, there are few key concepts that we need in every robot, basically. Please ignore any weird noises that come out. Sorry about that. So state estimation is part of it. It estimates the position and velocity, including the rotation and angular velocity of the rotor. Control as well is a vital part of autonomous flight. Command motors produce desired actions in order to navigate to desired states. And mapping, right? Lastly, this is the last thing. I'm really sorry if this is getting boring, but yeah, just to keep the discussion rolling. Mapping: the robot must have some basic capability to map its environment. If it does not know what the surrounding environment looks like, then it's incapable of reasoning about its environment and planning safe trajectories in its environment.
Yeah.
Really sorry if that got boring, but you can make it fun, Louai.
All right, so I think a fun way to approach drones is by questioning if they're good or bad. So I'm more of an ethics guy, politics guy. I really look at the social sciences when thinking of developing such devices. So I want to ask you guys. So what do you think um, of of the use of drones? Do you think they could be used for good purposes, just like they could be used for bad purposes? And what do you think of people using them? Do you think we're moving too fast in the innovation of drones, or do you think we're just at a good pace? I'd really love to hear from you guys. We're gonna ask Michelle. What do you think, Michelle?
Uh, I think, yeah, from what I know, like for the scientific research, as I mentioned, it can be used for like on geography scientific research and also like meteorology scientific research. And also like I think like the most common use like is for like taking photos, and taking photos is both for like commercials such as like sports events, and also like just any like games or festival, but also like it can take pictures at those locations that it's just so hard for humans to reach, but some position that they have like a special um of the like in forest, which is for like a biology study, or like some like study related to geography also. So like that's what I recognize.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And we can also speak about fire prevention in forests. There's a growing market for drones that detect fires in California, for example. So, yeah, the scientific purposes are limitless. I think that drones could be used for a lot of good when it comes to science. There's one comment that I think it was from Sharana. She said, or they said, I think if using drones to collect data or information on people, it's really important to ask for permission, but when used for the right purposes. Permission is important, and that's why Waind works in a completely lawful manner with government and um, the with authorities to conduct their research. So Waind is a research and development startup. We're not completely a we're not really looking for uh, to really help me out here, Mohammed. We're not really looking to sell our products to individuals, and we're really working on authority with authorities to develop our drones and our sea vehicles. I see a few messages here. It'd be nice for us to hear your voices, so we
Yeah.
could have a discussion. But all your messages are really interesting. Janani said, "I feel like nothing is fully bad, and it just has to do with how it's used." Exactly. it's the ethics of drones. It's how we use them. They might not be bad. They could be harmless, but it's how they're used. I completely agree with that. Claudia said drones could very well be ethical as they can be unethical. I agree with
Mhm.
that too. That depends on its purpose. Ethical policy can also be updated on a case by case basis, so long as it is closely monitored and updated. Yeah. Well, I like to look at this drones are like the law. Law is consubstantial with the evolution of society. So the use of drones could change depending on the time and the country, of course, when there are cultural barriers. We could assume a lot of things about how drones are used. Um, Javier, I'm sorry, I can't really. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. You said drones progress society in a good pace. So this is about how technology progresses, Mohammed. So especially during the age of environmental awareness, drones can easily replace carbon emitting vehicles that are used to transport products. Yeah, that's also a good use. Transportation, security, everything that has to do with the environment. Yeah, awesome. I've only seen, uh, okay, I've only seen positive ways you could use drones. But Sharana is really exploring all the different uses of drones here. They said, have you guys heard of governments using facial recognition to identify criminals? Yes, yes, exactly. So, uh, some drones in the United States, for example, work in crime hotspots and they can predict when a crime is going to happen. Facebook is actually working on this too. You wouldn't expect that from a media company, but they are, and they're very successful at it. Michelle,
It's used in Dubai, no?
um,
Facial recognition to identify
well,
criminals.
it's used in most countries. Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I watched a video which showed that it had been adopted in India for reducing locusts. Yes, yes, and you know what's really interesting is that in China, uh, the facial recognition technology is so developed that you can now walk in a store without paying because they recognize your face and you could pay with your face. Uh, yeah, I mean, facial recognition on drones is really a wide topic. You could do anything with facial recognition. Sharana, back at it again with software has been labeled as racist. I'm so glad that you mentioned this.
Yeah.
There's an experience that was done, or a project that was led by a company that interviewed candidates for a job position. And this, when they interviewed them remotely, so they were behind the camera. The hiring party, which is the company, when they were hiring or were they're conducting the interview, they had a software in the camera, or they were using a software that could detect certain facial expressions and to identify if this guy's insane or this person's insane or if this person is sane or you know and we we all come from different backgrounds. We come from different cultures. So um, the software could detect something from, say, an Asian person in a different way than someone that is Caucasian, for example. So it could trigger uh, this argument in in code that could say, okay, this guy is insane because his eyebrow was raised at exactly when you said job. So this guy could potentially be bad for your company. And yes, software can be labeled as racist because, as I said, we all come from different cultures, so and we have different way of reacting to news or certain things. Yeah, and again, there was another experiment done where the software is more effective on white people than black people, which is very worrying because software should read everybody, whatever human is in front of them. But again, these softwares are coded by white people. So if a white person is gonna code a software, he's gonna code it to his sort of facial features and color probably. But I think it doesn't it's not really racist. It has to do with who's behind the code. If you tell your code to detect black, white, and Asian people, then it would do exactly that. So it all depends on who's coding. Mohammed, I'm gonna let you speak. I've been speaking for so long right now.
Yeah, yeah, no
It's
problem. Yep.
bored.
So, all right. So keep the questions rolling. So I think where'd you stop? Okay, software have been labeled as racist. I'm in China. I think using facial recognition to identify criminals is very important. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that. Well, there's this thing in China that I heard about called I don't know if the exact name I forgot, but it's something related to CCTV where everyone has a profile in the government's database of faces, right? And so
Yeah.
if you come up with something or if you do something that's unethical, you're counted down for that. And if you do something unethical, the process is just hard for you when it comes to to you
Yeah.
applying for a visa, let's just say, or something like that. Is that true, Michelle? Could you tell us more about that? That'll be amazing. I think.
It's a point system, I think. They use a point
Yeah, yeah,
system and
yeah,
you can
exactly,
get
exactly,
points
Louai,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think if we
Could
could
you
get, yeah,
the for the payment or like for identifying criminals?
yeah, yeah, that.
Yeah.
Uh, I think like for identifying criminals, I think they have like not only like facial recognition but also like body
Yeah.
posture recognition as well. But like it's all like integrated into the monitor camera. But we just have like lots of tons of like monitoring camera at like every corner of the street, so like they can like self-identify like the facial um like also like facial recognition and like for like testing like whether one is like using the phone or like drinking while driving as well. And also like for me like for the other use it's like I really like I enter school it does like facial recognition to like whether let me into the school or not. And also like because it's like during the COVID outbreak, so like they test whether someone has like high temperature. So it's also like a facial recognition that basically when I I pass that camera, I can see like on the screen my face like it has a like green some like green things like just
Yeah,
surround
a
my
box.
face, it
A
recognize
box.
my face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
box.
Yeah.
exactly what we're working on. Our software, basically, it has this really. Oh, sorry.
Hello? Yeah.
Right. So our software, as I mentioned before, it's a 25 line of code software, and it's able to detect whether you're wearing a mask or not. And the argument wearing a mask or not is something that we developed completely. It's our code 100%, and we developed it on our own. And it's able to say, well, we tested it at it's kind of an embarrassing number, but it's 80%, 86% accurate. Is that it, Mohammed? 86 or 87? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. 86.
86,
Yeah.
86% accurate. So it could detect whether you're wearing a mask or not at 86% accuracy. It's very simple, 25 lines of code, and you could make stuff like this happen. Um, if I could ask, without imposing on any of you, do you mind if you put your cameras, uh, just so we could
Please.
see who we're talking to?
I do want to take a okay. I do want to take a I do want to take a picture at the end. For all of us, for the record, and if I have the consent, of everyone, and
Yeah,
if
it'd be
not,
really
that's
nice
completely fine.
to see you and like converse and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Because I
Thank you,
have the
Michelle.
impression that only
Sorry.
Michelle is listening.
Yeah,
But it'd be nice to see all of you, or at least whoever wants to put the camera. But please don't feel obliged to.
yeah.
So we're gonna. I think Claudia asked a question or said something that was really interesting. She said, although it's good that drones development is progressing at such a fast pace, it still feels a little unregulated and underdeveloped in the context of law enforcement. Claudia, thank you so much for saying that, because that's exactly what I think about every single day, is how drones or emerging technologies lack regulation and lack legislature. But what governments are doing now is that they're making all of these new laws that stipulate where a drone can be used, how it can be used, at what times, in which jurisdictions. So it's an evolving thing, and as I said, it's consubstantial with the evolution of our society. Every day there's new drone law that comes out. So it's really interesting. Like one day a type of drone can be banned, the next day it could be allowed in like certain areas and parks, but not above government buildings or properties. So um, I really appreciate that you brought it up because it really has to do with ethics and law. But in law enforcement, the context of law enforcement, yeah, that's exactly what Michelle was referring to, which was crime prevention. Is that right, Michelle?
Yeah, but I think it's like mentioned by someone else first. I was just saying like, yeah, I heard of that also, but I think someone mentioned it first. Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's Fiona mentioned first.
oh, I didn't see it. Well, thank you to those who are asking questions and saying interesting things. Claudia, I see that you put your camera up. Do you have anything to add?
Not really. I'm just going as the discussion is going. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So what do you think? What solutions do you think can be adopted, like in the context of law enforcement, and the pace that drones are progressing? Like, what do you think can be done to find balance between how drones are progressing and what can be done to regulate their progression?
Um, right now that would be a little difficult to achieve, considering that like hardware and software development is kind of light speed at the moment, considering it's new technology, if you will. But just constant testing, just trying to match the pace if it's even possible, to some extent. Um, but yeah, start there and see how it goes.
Yeah, so your approach is understanding the tech first and then judging whether to find regulation for it.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
so
Going by it on a case by case basis.
so you would rather think about it rather than do something about it. Do you want to wait and see where it goes?
Think and act. Try to do that at the same time to see if it's possible. Because kind of just sitting back and thinking about it first would put you at a big disadvantage.
Oh, okay, all right. I see what you mean. Yeah, very interesting. Um, I'm someone that would just go at it and give an opinion like right away, because I'm very proactive. Like Mohammed knows this. If there's a new tech that comes out, I'm always skeptical about it. But uh, I don't know. Anybody has anything to say about this? About how drones are developing really quickly?
Yeah, I think in my country, like if the drone is larger than like 20 meters, I think, and then you need to get a license for that. But if it's like much smaller, it doesn't like really matter
Yeah.
because it's used for videoing, like recording. So also like I remember that like Shanghai has that like exposition of the food. So like people from all the country just came into Shanghai. So I remember that at the time on drones are like prevented. But I don't really know like if those like drones for camera will like be counted in the prohibition because like those like drones for camera is just like so small and like really so arbitrary. But
Yeah.
also I thinking that if we have like love drones possibly like there can be like supervisor drones to like supervise the other drones, probably that can be a solution.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I've never thought of that. I mean, I supervising drones. Yeah, it's like the drones for drones, basically. A drone task force for drones. Yeah, that's an awesome idea. And how would you sort of put that in place, for example?
Um, it don't like depend on the size and the area. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like we have a lot of camera in our like city, so like the number can just like someone like the cameras in the city, and also like you're like working on AI, so possibly it can like auto tracking and also like auto flying the different drones. If it's more like suspicious, then probably like people have to send like more drones from some like sites to like just tracking that. But I think it will also like have the privacy issue because like some people just randomly use a drone like for recording like the city, just taking photos, but the person might find like the supervised drone is like invading his privacy by like tracking down that,
Yeah.
and the person will feel uncomfortable with it. Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
classification using AI might be help to avoid like something like really like truly invading the privacy.
Sure. We should really distinguish commercial drone from for and drones that are used for example, movies and those bigger drones. And they could seem pretty suspicious, just like the commercial drones, like the DJI drones. If you find a drone that is flying at the same height as your building, wouldn't you be suspicious that maybe this drone is trying to watch me at home, for example? Like, how would you like? Would you think of solutions where there is like a drone task force that is completely automated that could tap in to the video feed of another drone and shut it down if it deems it suspicious? Do you think that government should have the authority of shutting down drones when the government assumes that there might be conducting illegal activities or looking for people? Or do you think it's the government's job to supervise people? Well, it really depends on where you are. So, what do you think of should government have more control on suppressing drones and things of the sort?
I don't know, like if the same drone just like stay in the same position, probably
Oh yeah,
like it's like government might have like the job to deal with that, but if it's just like fly by, which in the most of the time it should not like look like supervising someone. Probably like if government supervising that drone, maybe invading that drone's privacy. But I
yeah.
feel like it's like hard to decide like the degree of the camera. I think it would be like super hard to decide like which direction does it like really look at.
Yeah. Um, I really like this discussion. And yeah, but when you consider like as a drone user, for example, you're in Shanghai, you're using a drone. Do you believe like in a shared airspace? Like, do you believe that the airspace in which you are flying your drone in, do you think government has the right to invade your privacy because it's in the public airspace? And how do we define public spaces from private spaces when you're using a drone? Because unless you're flying the drone in your house, it's in your jurisdiction. What do you think of flying drones outside your house, which is the case? Do you think government has the right to intervene? Because it's not really your place; it's the public place. It's the air. I think I lost you there. Did I?
I feel like I feel like if like for like the first user is like school, so school can become the school's place. So
Right. Yeah.
governments might like not sure monitoring that because it's just belongs to the school. But I know like my friends they flow over the rooftop. So I feel like if it's like horizontally just only viewing the rooftop, so like like this way,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like probably like government should not intervene, but if like they flow into some residential districts which is like barred by some like fences, but
Yeah.
also like it's not just like horizontal way like this, it's like go down, probably government should like intervene that because it's just
Okay.
like the person you cannot like enter down into like that residential district or something like that.
Okay. I think we're getting at something. I saw Claudia, you raised your hand, but just before that, there's the Convention on the Law of the Sea, the United Nations document, right? There are laws that define where your boats could go and how far they can extract minerals from the ground. It's the law of the sea. So, if you were to draft, let's say, policy for the UN to define the distance in which a drone can fly and where the state cannot intervene, what is the height, would you say? Like, what would you where would you define the height? At what distance or height? or if anyone wants to answer that question.
Yeah, I understand that, but personally, like I have no idea, like what heights like the drone cannot see things clearly or not. Like I'm like really no idea of that. But possibly it'll just add a level that probably cannot like see the face clearly. I don't know, but it's just no idea of that.
Could you say that again? Face clear. I heard something about face
As
clearly.
as like at the heights that cannot like see people's face clearly. Or
Oh, I
like
didn't. Yeah, yeah. That's
I
that's
don't
really cool.
remember. I have like really no sense of that.
No, that was really good answer because like if you're at a certain height, unless you have like a 4K camera, you wouldn't be able to see the faces from down. So it would be interesting to like sort of limit the functionality of certain drones to not fully detect the faces. Like that they could fly, but they can't collect data. Yeah, really interesting. Uh, I think we would make a great UN task force and like write policy for the UN, all of us. Claudia, you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
What I was gonna mention is somewhere along the lines of what you were of the sea policy.
Yes.
When you were talking about like what areas like a drone should be able to fly through and like the heights and whatever, I was thinking there's obviously countries have airspaces, right? You have a country that's trying to go through another country, you need permissions for that, and there will be people who will literally contact you in your plane to let you know that you are entering this specific country's airspace. I think that that kind of technology would be appropriate for drones, specifically when governments would try to like I don't know the need to shut down another drone or I don't know contact a I don't know in one of those cases I think it would be appropriate. And as for districts and or regions where you could fly in heights, I feel like that should it should be determined on the population and what kind of area it is. So like Michelle mentioned, school areas should definitely be a no zone. They should have like a height where you can't detect faces, but you can collect data. And they should also depend on the drone because there's like, if I'm not mistaken, there's like radar drones or something where they're specifically designed to like map areas with like radar messaging, or I'm not sure. I truly don't know a lot about that. But when it comes to faces, it should not be allowed because of minors and it's too tricky. As for public places, maybe parks, you'd have to restrict that like by person because obviously there's children everywhere. You can't really avoid them and people who obviously would not give permission to show their faces on stuff.
So if you're not going to fly them over schools, you're not going to fly them over parks, you're not going to fly them in certain districts, where are you going to fly your drones? Where are you going to collect data as a normal citizen if you were to ever collect data? Where would you do it? If it
Request
were,
permission. You'd have to request permission.
you have the permission, you have all the documents to back you up, where are you going to fly your drones?
Great question. Depends on the data you're trying to collect firsthand. You have to
So,
consider that.
yeah. Well, drone permits exist, and the reason for which you're flying your drone has to be justified in your permit. So I think that it does exist already, and that's exactly what Mohammed and I are trying to do with the government here is negotiate on what we can do and to what extent. Isn't that right, Mohammed?
Indeed, indeed. I actually, I saw this comment from, comments from Ani. It says, unfortunately, my country uses drones. My country, some drones are used for war, and I think that's a very good statement to be made, in this context. So Ani, if you could speak up, where country are you, where are you from? Which country are you from?
I think Armenia.
Armenia. Let's see.
I'm just assuming. I'm just assuming.
Yeah, you're right. I'm from Armenia.
It's the family name. I have this thing
Okay.
where I look at, yeah.
All right. So I guess, on what's been happening in the past few months with Armenia and Azerbaijan. I think you're talking about the UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles that are
Yeah.
used.
Those are really,
Yeah.
really big drones. Those are drones that are like
Yeah.
private jets. the size of private jets. Yeah, those are used for war, and I think they're used for intelligence gathering, and that's not what we're doing, and we're gonna stay away from that. Intelligence is not our thing. There are companies doing that. The military is doing that. So, um, so do you think, Ani, that drones could be used to prevent war?
Um, Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on who used it.
All right. And if and what would you do? Like as a, let's say, as a software engineer, drone engineer, aeronautical engineer, how would you develop a drone that prevents war? People think about using drones for war, but how could you use drones against war?
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
During
Go
the
on.
war, it can disconnect all the other drones or something like that.
But who has the authority to do that? If you're Armenian and the Armenian government decides to send a drone, who are you to switch off that drone as a citizen? So should international bodies intervene, like the UN, to disconnect drones, for example, or should the state do it, or should other states do it? Because that could also provoke war. You're inciting war instead of reducing the risk of a war breaking out. So how would you do it?
Like the situation between like our two countries, like Azerbaijan and Armenia, goes like first Azerbaijan started the drone attack, and Armenia at that time didn't have any drones. So at this moment, I think Armenia does it. Just we like build drones which will disconnect the other ones, and that's the thing what government did. Like says the developers go and do it.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, cool in the context of the tech involved, not the politics that are happening. I'm afraid we can't really comment on that. We're just some tech people over here. But who else has an idea? You know, I think crime prevention and drones is a smaller version of preventing war, if that makes sense. No, it's at a smaller scale. Yeah, Mohammed.
Yeah, I was actually gonna comment. So when it comes, to what you said, that drones should, or drones, or what if drones, have a sort of a regulator to be turned off and on, according to what's gonna happen, administrated by a particular party or organization. That's actually happening. When it comes to the arms sales that are currently happening all around the world, it's for the most part, the United States and Russia. And when it comes to the United States, selling drones, usually, part of the mutual agreement is that the United States, or whatever company that's operating the drone, it could be Lockheed Martin, it could be General Atomics, has the authority to turn off and turn on the drone whenever is necessary. Not whenever it wants, whenever it's necessary. And I think that's a very good thing. Part of the reason why I think we shouldn't let everyone produce at least unmanned aerial vehicles that could you know that could they could make airstrikes and whatnot. I think and not letting everyone produce, or not teaching everyone the proper knowledge and education to do these types of things is very vital. And the reason being is because we don't want everyone having this type of knowledge, and that's what Elon Musk does with the SpaceX. Only green card holders are the ones who could work for his SpaceX, considering the fact that SpaceX develops rockets in technology and whatnot. So I think it's a very good decision overall.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we could wrap this up right here. Again, thank you all for asking all your questions. It was really an honor to be here, both for Mohammed and I, and um, at, we hope that you benefited from this conversation. Again, if you want to intern or be part of the thought process and everything, the link is above. I'll post it later. Michelle?
Oh, yeah, okay. So, hi everyone. For those who are interested in physics, astronomy, or astrophysics or STEAM research, I've invited 4 guest speakers from University of Michigan and Student Astronomical Society to make a guest speech on physics, astronomy, or astrophysics, or like related research, starting from 7 p.m. today, so December the 18th. There will be a lecture about an hour and plenty of time for questions, so you can prepare your questions in advance. And I've sent the Zoom link into the chat, also like in in the Slack channel. So feel free to present your questions through private message and or like prepare the question like on a sheet so that you can ask at a time. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you,
Really
Michelle.
enjoyed it.
Before we
All the
officially end the camp, I'd like to speak a few words. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for coming and making our camp so amazing. We hope you all learn a lot from this. And the feedback form is sent over here by Metha. I'll just send it again. Please fill that up for the certificates. And yeah, that's about it. We can close now.
All right. If there, if there's one request, I would, tell you guys.
Sure.
If this is completely up to you. If you guys, all of you guys, if you could turn on your camera, I want to take a screenshot to sort of retain our experience that we had here.
Mhm.
That's completely up to you if you want to do it. If you don't, that's completely fine as well.
If I may ask, is it like, do you have any policy against pictures or?
No, not really. You
Fine.
can take a screenshot.
All right. Sure. Great. You
Um,
do that, Mohammed.
Yeah.
If anyone
Once,
else
yeah.
wants to open it.
Oh, if you have any questions, I'll put the email down here. Any question you want, we'll be happy to answer it about our project, about internship opportunities, even internship opportunities with other companies too. So.
Sure. So I'll take the picture now. All right, that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
You too.